The sky above the crumbling city turned a deep, bruised purple as the final explosion bloomed. Noah stood at the center of the blast, his body dissolving into fragments of light to shield the remaining survivors. For a moment, the deafening roar of the apocalypse faded into an absolute ringing silence. He felt weightless, as if his very soul had been stripped of its earthly burdens and cast into the sea. A sudden pulse of cold energy rippled through the darkness, vibrating against his translucent chest. From the depths of the void, a massive, unblinking eye opened, its pupil larger than a planet. This was the spirit of emptiness, a cosmic entity that governed the spaces between worlds. The entity's voice echoed not in his ears, but directly inside his mind, heavy with the weight of eons. It offered him a second chance at life, but the price was his eternal servitude as its puppet. A glowing scroll made of starlight appeared between them, shimmering with ancient binding runes. Noah looked at the contract and felt the cold chains of the entity's will beginning to wrap around his spirit. He realized that becoming a hero under these terms was just another form of slavery. With a surge of willpower, he reached out and tore the starlight contract in half. The spirit of emptiness let out a silent roar that shattered the nearby nebulas into jagged shards. It declared that if he would not be its servant, he would be cast into the cycle of reincarnation as a curse. A vortex of black flames erupted beneath Noah, dragging him down toward a world of physical matter. His senses returned in a rush of agonizing heat and the metallic scent of fresh blood. Noah opened his eyes to find himself lying on a cold stone altar, his new body covered in intricate red markings. Around him, hooded figures chanted in a forgotten tongue, their voices rising in a feverish pitch. He saw a young woman chained nearby, her eyes wide with terror as she watched the ritual unfold. The high priest stepped forward, raising a jagged obsidian blade high above his head. Noah felt a strange hollow power stirring in his gut, the residue of the void he had just escaped. He realized this ritual wasn't meant to save him, but to use his new body as a vessel for a demon. Just as the blade began its descent, Noah rolled off the altar, narrowly dodging the killing blow. He swept his leg out, catching the high priest's ankles and sending the man crashing to the floor. The cultists froze in shock, their chanting turning into whispers of confusion. A blue holographic screen suddenly flickered into existence before Noah's eyes, displaying his status. The screen read, Candidate Noah, Level 1, Unique Class, Void Master, Locked. He didn't have time to process the game-like interface as three cultists lunged at him with daggers drawn. Noah's hand instinctively reached for a nearby weapon stand, his fingers closing around a heavy iron spear. With a single fluid motion, he spun the spear, parrying the first wave of attacks with practiced ease. He noticed a glowing crystal at the center of the room that seemed to be the source of the barrier trapping them. If he could destroy that crystal, he could make an escape with the captive girl. The high priest scrambled to his feet, his face twisted in a mask of demonic rage. The priest began to grow, his robes tearing as gray, leathery skin bubbled to the surface. Kill the intruder, the monster priest bellowed, his voice sounding like grinding stones. Noah ducked under a heavy claw swipe, the air whistling as the attack narrowly missed his head. He lunged forward, driving the tip of his iron spear into the monster's knee. A notification popped up, critical hit, void resonance activated. The spear began to vibrate, a purple aura traveling from Noah's hands into the metal shaft. The iron spear transformed into a wickedly sharp red blade, pulsing with an unholy hunger. Noah felt his strength double as the spear fed on the monster's essence, healing his minor scratches. He turned his attention back to the captive girl, who was now being threatened by a cultist with a torch. Noah threw the spear with all his might, aiming for the chains holding her to the wall. The spear shattered the iron links with a thunderous crack, freeing the girl just as she began to fall. However, the massive monster priest was not yet dead, and it gathered a ball of dark energy in its maw. The girl screamed a warning as the monster prepared to unleash the blast directly at Noah. Noah lunged for his spear, but he was too far away to retrieve it before the attack fired. Suddenly, the time around him slowed down, and the Void Master status screen turned a blood-red color. A new prompt appeared, sacrifice your sanity for a moment of godhood. Noah's finger hovered over the accept button as the dark energy blast left the monster's throat. Noah slammed his finger onto the glowing accept icon just as the monster's energy blast roared toward him. A blinding shockwave of violet light erupted from his chest, shattering the incoming projectile into 1,000 harmless sparks. Aurelia watched from the altar with wide eyes as the stranger's presence suddenly felt like a bottomless abyss. Without a word, Noah lunged forward with a speed that blurred the very air around him. He reached for the crimson spear protruding from a fallen cultist's chest and yanked it free with a wet squelch. The weapon thrummed in his hand, recognizing the void energy flowing through his new veins. The gargantuan beast guarding the altar let out a deafening screech of fury. Noah sidestepped a crushing blow from the creature's claw, the stone beneath him exploding into dust. He drove the red spear deep into the monster's leg, watching as the blade hungrily drank the dark blood. The monster buckled, its essence being drained away by the cursed weapon's innate rot. Noah spun the spear in a lethal arc, decapitating a cultist who tried to sneak up from behind. He reached the altar and slashed through Aurelia's bindings with a single precise movement. "You need to get out of here before the temple collapses," he commanded her with a cold voice. "Who are you?" the sorceress whispered as she gripped his hand and felt the freezing chill of the void. "I'm just someone who refused to stay dead," Noah replied while looking toward the ceiling. Suddenly, the reality around them began to tear like wet parchment, revealing a shimmering, star-filled rift. A system notification chimed in his mind, announcing the opening of the dimensional gate. Noah stepped through the threshold, leaving the crumbling temple and the stunned sorceress behind. He found himself standing in a vast, silent hall that resembled a high-end store from a futuristic fantasy game. A floating mechanical orb drifted toward him, greeting him as the newest Messiah candidate. "Please select your primary class to proceed with the synchronization," the orb stated in a monotone voice. Noah scanned the list, passing over traditional roles like warrior and grand mage. His eyes stopped on a hidden blood-red option at the bottom of the screen. The class was titled Exsanguinator, a path of blood and void that few dared to walk. "This path requires constant sacrifice and will alienate you from the gods," the orb cautioned. "I've never been much of a fan of gods anyway," Noah muttered as he tapped the selection. A searing pain shot through his arm as a series of red runes etched themselves into his flesh. He collapsed to one knee, feeling his heart beat with a rhythm that wasn't entirely human. The transformation completed, and a new status window displayed his drastically increased stats. He spent his remaining points on a passive skill called Heart of the Void to stabilize his power. With his new class solidified, Noah purchased a set of reinforced dark leather armor. He practiced a few swings with his red spear, feeling it move as naturally as an extension of his arm. The mechanical orb informed him that his time in the rift was ending and he would be returned to the world. "Prepare for the secondary wave of the cult's arrival," the machine warned before vanishing. Noah felt the familiar pull of gravity as he was spat back out into the ruined temple. Aurelia was still there, now standing behind a barrier of blue light, facing a group of armored men. A man in ornate red armor stepped forward wielding a mace that pulsed with dark divinity. "Hand over the girl and the artifact, or suffer the wrath of Victrol," the leader roared. Noah stepped out from the shadows, his purple eyes glowing with a predatory light. He pointed the crimson blade at Victrol's throat as the spear's red eye suddenly opened and began to blink. The red eye on the spear's blade rolled wildly as Noah tightened his grip on the shaft. Victrol let out a raspy cackle while dark green necrotic smoke billowed from his palms. Without a word, Noah lunged forward, leaving a trail of purple sparks in his wake. The cult leader conjured a wall of bone to block the incoming strike. Noah's spear shattered the bone barrier like fragile glass under the weight of his wrought power. Victrol retreated toward the shadows, desperately chanting a forbidden incantation. Noah felt the spear pulse with a hunger that resonated within his own chest. He unleashed a horizontal sweep that released a wave of crimson energy across the floor. The cult leader's robes were shredded as he barely dodged the lethal arc of light. Noah appeared behind him instantly, using the void step ability he had just mastered. The crimson blade pierced through Victrol's chest, ending the dark sorcerer's reign of terror. As Victrol dissolved into ash, the entire temple began to vibrate with celestial energy. A rift opened in the floor, pulling Noah into a realm of endless floating books and scrolls. He walked through the aisles of the ethereal library, where the history of every soul was recorded. One particular book, bound in red leather, flew into his hand and began to glow. The pages revealed his true lineage as a guardian of the void, destined to balance the scales of life. Understanding his purpose, Noah looked for a way to reach the heart of the world. A hidden door at the back of the library led him into a lush, sun-drenched garden. Clear streams of liquid silver flowed between trees that bore fruit of pure light. In the center of the garden stood a woman whose beauty surpassed any mortal imagination. Noah knelt before the goddess Vati, sensing the immense holy power she radiated. She smiled at him, her voice sounding like a harmony of distant bells. The goddess explained that his spear was not a curse, but a vessel for the world's impurities. She placed her hand on the red-bladed spear, and the blinking eye closed in a peaceful sleep. The dark rot covering the weapon transformed into a shimmering gold and crimson pattern. Noah felt a surge of new energy that balanced the void within his soul with the light of the goddess. He vowed to use this power to protect the innocent and rebuild the kingdoms destroyed by the cult. Vati gifted him a small seed of the world tree to plant in the barren lands of the human realm. Noah accepted the gift and bowed once more before the divine presence. With a wave of her hand, the goddess transported him back to the surface of the world. He woke up on a grassy hill overlooking the ruins of the cult's fortress. The sun was rising over the horizon, signaling a new era for this world. Aurelia and the survivors of the ritual ran toward him with tears of joy. She embraced him, thanking him for the miracle he had performed. Noah looked at the seed in his hand and then at the scarred earth around them. He knelt and buried the seed in the soil, whispering a prayer of renewal. Instantly, a massive sprout burst from the ground and grew into a towering oak tree within seconds. Life began to return to the valley as flowers bloomed where there was once only ash. Noah stood under the shade of the new tree, holding his purified spear at his side. He realized that his journey as a hero was over, but his life as a protector had just begun. The screen fades to white as the legend of the SSS-Rank Void Master becomes a tale told for generations.